Hey game fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking, or Capnclydes MTG. Today, we mourn the loss of E3. So, before we get started, don't forget, comment, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. The comments down below will feed the YouTube algorithm. Yada yada, yada yada. Help keep us sponsor free. Unless you're ShamWow and you're watching this video. Call me. I want to do a ShamWow gig. Anyway, um, links in the description. Help keep us sponsor free. Uh, Hit up the stores, just subscribe. We need to get to 1,000 people. We're going to have a sweet little giveaway. We're on Rumble. Check us out over there. If I get to 500 likes on Rumble, we'll have another giveaway for the Rumble Peep. If you're watching YouTube and Rumble, hey, you can win it both. I don't care. It's all about the free stuff, right? So, let's get started today. We're going to have a quick 10-minute talk about E3. I just think this is something that's important to talk about. I know we're normally a Magic channel, but this is a gaming channel in general. And let's be honest, E3 has been talked about forever. People love going to E3. And as an avid video gamer, you've seen me play everything from Diablo to Baldur's Gate on here if you've been around long enough. um, just a gamer in general, and a love for all things that are game and geek. Um, E3 is dead. And it's really sad to say. So let's take a look at what Mr. James here has to say from his article. So it says here that after more than 2 decades as an industry's most prominent trade show, E3 is dead. Its demise, it says, is unsurprising, even expected depending on who you talk to, but it still marks a momentous occasion, and one that saddens most of the game industry and the media. Well, the thing there, it saddens the game industry and the media. The thing is, it's not saddening the players, which is why it died, and why game designers need to start realizing it's not about a pat yourself on the back scenario. It's about your customers liking what you do. So it says here, it's been a fairly long, drawn out E3 with the COVID years adding to that, and such is sad yet to finally conclude the chapter. Um, so they can say that COVID had something to do with this, but I think a lot of this has to do with the piss poor gaming mechanics, game development, and the lack of the gaming community to get games that they're hyped enough about to keep going back. Because you can be hyped about a game, but after bad game after bad game after bad game, guess what? Capitalism takes over. People don't buy your game, and you start going underwater. And when the whole environment is like that, you know, a lieu of some outliers, Larian, Baldur's Gate 3, um, fanboying only gets you so far before people stop spending money on your stuff. Same could be said for Magic and comic books and everything else, all geek stuff, right? It said the magic of E3 was fanatical, was represented in the mid 90s and 2000s. Sadly to say for me, I never got a chance to go to E3. I really wish I did, and I tried a couple of years, but it was so hard with so many other things going on. If you guys watch the channel, you know I go to Gen Con every year, and that's really the big thing for me. E3 was a close second. I've been to Comic Con. Um, it's there's so many good things to do. It's hard to get them all in one thing. And E3 was one of those that kind of slid to the side because while I was doing Gen Con, board games, card games, and all that, my gaming geek side kind of, as far as video games goes, kind of went on the downturn for more of the classic D&D role play tabletop style. And again, that also comes back to the lack of good products coming out of gaming. So it says in years after the really sad misstep of the Barker Hangar version of E3 in '07, I don't even know what that is, where the show was held in an aircraft hangar rather than, wow, okay. And to be honest, to some degree, it doesn't matter where you have an event if the event is good. Let's just be honest. However, that a hangar, probably a bit much. If you never really found its mojo back, in my opinions, well, that kind of goes back to cost cutting. Probably the hangar was cheap. They were trying to get as much bang for their buck. And you can only cost cut so much and raise prices so much before, again, people decide it's not worth it and they stop buying or attending your venues, and therefore you go under. Ta-da. It says here, the COVID pause, yada, yada, yada. There was a COVID pause for Gen Con, and it came back stronger than before. And even when people didn't want to go because they were scared of the vid, people still went. I went, and it was great. And money was made. And that's why the very next year, guess what? Everybody came back because it wasn't going to die. It wasn't going to be an E3. Because people really did love it and they were producing a quality product. So, um, yeah, for me, I think the really sadness about all this here, it says here he adds content owners want to feel in control, eyeballs and influencers have the real power. Eh, direct consumer access has increased, albeit via screen modestly. So here it says content owners want to feel in control, the eyeballs and influencers have the real power. I think they're wrong. Here's why. Baldur's Gate 3 came out. Everybody tried to pistol whip it into submission to tell everybody how bad it was. But guess what? Some influencers, um, but mostly the people who bought the game and spread the gospel organically about how great it was, is what made more people buy it and more people talk about it and more people spread it and made the game good. Now, one thing I will say about this, we have a serious contingent right now of game designers in the market who feel they know what's best for the player. That is not how you make a game. Unless you are a player. You can talk all day long about how the player should like something. If the player doesn't like it, you can't make them like it, i.e., loot boxes and pay to win apps or things in games. They will revolt. We've seen it before, we'll see it again. It's a fine line that people who make games have to walk between making enough money and trying to milk their customer without pissing them off too much so that they stop spending. And I think we've seen the real one side versus another, where we have the creators who want loot boxes and to milk your money with all this content and in-app game purchases, versus a Larian style Baldur's Gate 3 where so much money was made on the sales of the game. Could they have made more? I mean, yeah, probably if they tried to milk it like everybody else does, but guess what? Then it wouldn't have sold more, because the minute people knew there were in-game purchases and this, that, and the other, they wouldn't have bought it. Larian did what was right for the community because they're part of the community. They're real gamers who understand and love the game, which is why there was so much success and support for them and will continue to be. Did the game take longer to make? Yes. Were there delays? Of course there was. But guess what? When people got the game, they were okay with it because they knew that the right things were done, and Larian is still fixing stuff and adding content because, well, the game is still selling. It's just absurd. Uh, and the guys who want loot boxes and in-app purchases so they can do the whole mobile game kind of milk your wallet scenario to make money, those guys hopefully are going the way of the dodo. I've hated to see the rise of them. Hopefully we're at the breaking point where people like Larian and other places will do the right things and just make great games because they should, and the market replies by giving them money hand over fist for doing the right thing. So I really think that's kind of what led to the whole downfall of E3. Um, it also says here E3 was an event that could not be ignored by the world. This is very true. Um, People would come out, they would announce things left and right. But as we've seen, people just don't care to see it anymore. They talk here, the big question, why did it die? Largely been answered by this point, even before the Entertainment Software Association officially confirmed the show's end. In fact, you can see some of the signs in our interview with ESA over the cancellation of E3. The more crucial questions at this point is what happens next. Will there be a new E3? Well, I think to some degree there will be eventually when someone figures out how to do it right. But also, for there to be a good E3 again, we have to have a good consumer and customer base who are happy with the gaming industry and willing to go to their stuff. Um, and I really think in the meantime, what's going to fill that itch for a lot of the E3 people is just regular game conventions. And I think once people realize if they go to game conventions and they pick out a certain couple game conventions that are bigger, Gen Con, Origins, whatever the case may be, and do their game announcements there, they'll get the foot traffic and the sales and the advertisement that they need. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, when you go to Gen Con, there are rooms of console games, game tournaments on every game system. There's arcade games even. It's everything geek. It's what E3 wanted to be, except E3 was narrowed down to just games. And Gen Con covers everything, right? So will there be another one? I think there will be. When will it be? It's going to take a while and it's going to take some build up. In the meantime, I think smaller conventions will probably see some of these reveals, but also maybe a digital version comes out. I mean, everything's online anymore. Nothing's a secret. Everybody has access to information and news. So maybe E3 is just gone because, well, we just don't need it anymore. Because we can just go online and watch TV and watch the announcement on the website. So, with all that said, what do you think? Did the game environment ruin themselves, and this is the beginning of the end of the old game industry for video games with the rise of people like Larian, or is this a natural swing of things to something else? Or maybe even poor management. Heck, who knows? Tell me down below what you think. Until next time, be kind. And as always, I hope to see you across from that game table. Damn, I wish I got to at least one E3. Kind of depressing. Crap.